Good afternoon, good evening from Paris. I'm Stamenka Uvalić-Trumbić, and I'm talking for the Memory and Future Club of UNESCO's Association of Former Staff Members. It is my great pleasure to have as a guest today Peter Okebukola, professor at the Lagos State University in Nigeria. And we're talking about the forthcoming World Conference on Higher Education of UNESCO is organizing in October of this year. Hopefully it will take place. Hello, Peter, how are you and how are things in Nigeria and in Lagos?
Thank you very much, Stamenka, and thank you for asking me to be part of this event, this series of interviews that your group has put together. I am I'm greeting everybody from Lagos, Nigeria, and everything is fine at this end. Thank you, Stamenka.
That's good to know. So despite the fact that we're talking about the World Conference on Higher Education, the third one taking place this year, I know that your association with UNESCO goes far back into the last century, if I may say so. And I was very pleased to hear that you were the youngest winner of the Kalinga Prize for the Popularization of Science in 1992. Could you tell us a little bit more about young Peter Okebukola and this particular event?
Thank you again, Stamenka. I was honored to win the UNESCO Kalinga Prize for the communication and popularization of science in 1992. As you said, the UNESCO Kalinga Prize is the oldest prize instituted by UNESCO in 1952. Yeah, and I was the first African to win that prize in the 42-year history of UNESCO and in the 40-year history of the prize. I won the prize from the citation for my contributions towards the methodology for teaching science that had brought in many more students, that have won many students for science, that have won the hearts of people, science-phobic people, people who hate science, kids who hate science, that the methodology that I was deploying in Africa allowed these children, these students, to love science, especially girls. So I consider it a big honor for Africa and for me in person to have won that award. Incidentally, about 3 years ago, the Director General of UNESCO approved that I should be on the jury of people who decide who will win the UNESCO Kalinga Prize, or actually also the first African. The Kalinga Prize is populated by laureates who were Nobel Prize winners. So Nobel Prize winning scientists among the League of Kalinga laureates. And it's a big honor for me to be among that elite group.
Congratulations, Peter. I did not know that you were the first African. That I didn't know.
I was the first African.
Congratulations. So now let's focus on higher education and the world conferences that UNESCO organized. The first one was in 1998, as you remember. Sure. And one of the spin-offs, one of the follow-ups of this World Conference was the creation of GUNI, the Global University Network for Innovation. And you were the president of GUNI Africa. Actually, you still are. Yes. How did this impact your work in Nigeria and in Africa in general? Is it still going on? Is it important? What are your reactions to this question?
Thank you, Stamenka. I'm excited about GUNI, excited that it came up as a spin-off of a resolution from the 1998 World Conference. Since GUNI Africa, that's the Africa chapter of the Global University Network for Innovation, headquartered in Barcelona, we have spared no efforts in ensuring that we take full advantage of the impetus which GUNI presented through the innovative practices that is strive to encourage. GUNI Africa has been at the front line. I mean, if you look at all the regional efforts of GUNI globally, GUNI Africa is one of the leading in terms of the in terms of the validity of its activities. We are pursuing 3 lines of work in GUNI Africa. We are stimulating, encouraging innovative practices in research in higher education. Research that will solve challenges or problems facing humanity, but especially us in Africa. So innovative practices in research in science, in the humanities, and in all higher education disciplines. We have been stimulating and encouraging those innovative practices. The other, which appears to be the main line, is innovative practices in ensuring quality in higher education in Africa. The quality of higher education in Africa, like in other parts of the world, has some blights. And what we're trying to do is to clean off, the blights through better quality. If you look at access, Africa has the highest growth rate in terms of enrollment in higher education. But beyond numbers, beyond quantity, quality should be at the front. And the agenda of balancing quality with quantity is a game that is it's like a coin. You see, like a coin. I've always likened it to be a coin. When you turn the quantity to face you, quality backs you. If you turn quality to face you, quantity backs you. So it's a balancing act that we're trying to ensure in Africa. How do we, in the face of the huge numbers, we want it to come into higher education? We want to increase higher education participation rate. So the resources for ensuring quality are not increasing at the same rate. That strand of efforts that we engage in GUNI Africa is partnership, collaboration with other quality assurance agencies outside Africa, so we can learn lessons and global best practices and embed this into work. So GUNI Africa, we're delighted that we're making some efforts, and we are measuring progress. It is not enough to come to you, Stamenka, in this interview to say, we're doing this, we're doing that, but we have been measuring progress and quantifying the measure of progress and see where we are not, we're not moving well enough, and then take steps to improve our pace. Thank you, Stamenka.
Thank you, Peter. This leads us directly into the second World Conference on Higher Education in 2009 in Paris, where the internationalization of quality assurance was high on the agenda because it had been happening at the beginning and developing at the beginning of this millennium, if I may say so. But your role at the conference was very significant because we had a special roundtable on Africa, and you were the rapporteur. And we also issued the special communique for Africa. Could you tell me what were the implications and the impact of this conference and the communique in Africa? And was it visible, and how was there any follow-up? So just briefly about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Stamenka. I'd like to thank you at this stage, because you, Stamenka, were instrumental to my being appointed the Rapporteur General representing Africa. And of course, you were the Executive Secretary of the entire, I call it now, operation. A landmark operation, a landmark event, which brought together higher education stakeholders from all over the world. And as I said, we came out with some resolutions, and the ones for Africa your question is, how have these resolutions been translated into practice? My answer to that is quite straightforward. Not all of the resolutions were translated into practice for a motley assortment of reasons, but the chief ones that were translated into practice had to do with improving access to higher education in Africa, and also in improving quality. The access thing, there was the resolutions that you shared with ministers of education, heads of state and government in Africa, led the governments in Africa to encourage the establishment of more institutions, especially private higher education institutions. I would like to let you know, Stamenka, because I think you may not know this, but that the resolution of the conference, World Conference on Higher Education, that you, of course, leading UNESCO to institute, led to the establishment of private universities, many more private universities than hitherto. In most countries in Africa, higher education, private higher education started, gradually about the year 2000, and then picked up steam after that World Conference, were driven largely by the resolutions, driven also by the encouragement that you gave to the governments in Africa. So it led to increase in access by virtue of having more private providers offer higher education. But that's not to say that the private institutions enrolled large numbers. They did not, but it also opened the space, for them. And that conference also, as I said, two major things: access and quality. The quality bit, which was part of the resolutions that we had, led to a great deal of vigor in the activities of Good Africa, establishment of national quality assurance agencies, and they drew inspiration from that for that conference to sharpen the quality assurance. Let me use this metaphorically, the quality assurance teeth of the different countries. There's one particular one, Stamenka, which draw the air of some people while I put it in that resolution, which is the establishment of the Pan-African University. Stamenka, that resolution, which you had in the establishment of Pan-African University, I'm glad to let you know, Stamenka, that Pan-African University has been established and is waxing strong, and happened to be a member of the governing board of that university, and we have footprints in several locations in Africa. So thank you for setting up that conference, which has helped in no small way in improving higher education in Africa.
Peter, just a sub-question concerning what you have said. You said that one of the resolutions promoted setting up private universities in Africa as a means of enlarging and widening access to higher education. However, we in UNESCO, and I know that you share this, consider higher education as a public good. So is the privatization of higher education a positive thing?
I will look at it with a different lens. We say improve access. That is what the resolution said, 2008 conference, that countries should strive to improve access. All right. How do you improve access? There are several dimensions to improving access. One will be in government making available many more spaces for those who are eligible to come in. The other is to encourage stakeholders in higher education to collaborate with government to establish private universities or private higher education institutions. So that is, for me, I hold the view that the cost of higher education should be shared. UNESCO is also quite clear that basic education, that I'm pausing because I want to yes, that higher education should be, public good. But I hold the view that higher education, yes, should be public good, but that the cost of offering that good should be shared. UNESCO has said that, okay, basic education compulsory and free, or recommended. Basic education should compulsory and free. So basic education, as the Junction Conference and all of that. So for me and for most people in Africa, most people, what I mean is most people in government and outside of it, they hold the view that for higher education, it should not be completely free. Tuition can be free. But the other services, your accommodation, your feeding, it has to be cost shared or borne entirely by the student or the parent. So private higher education in Africa is a scheme to enhance access, as I said, and also one for those who can afford it. You see, we have an interesting scenario where the rich people like you, Stamenka, will send their children to nursery schools and pay through their nose for that education. They go through basic education free. At higher education, the cost is not even a quarter of what they pay at the nursery school. So the idea is it's optional. UNESCO is right, public good, but we have a menu in a restaurant that says, okay, this first course is free, second course is free, but for third course, it's optional. You can take it, but if you want to take it, you got to pay for it. So I do not see any conflict here. Philosophically, there could be, but operationally, it's happening because of the special circumstance that we have found ourselves in Africa.
Thank you very much, Peter. Now we come to our question related to the forthcoming World Conference, the third World Conference on Higher Education in October of this year. And the world has changed. The world has changed in many ways. We have the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, which finally acknowledge higher education as an important element of development. Issues that are being discussed now are social justice, equity, and the third mission of the university, etc. So, and we are also in a emergency situation caused by the pandemic. And this third World Conference will have a general framework, Agenda 2030, of the SDGs, but we'll have a special focus on the disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. So what are your perspectives of this conference? What is it going to bring to Nigeria, or what do you think would be important to be discussed at this conference and in its follow-up?
Thank you again, Stamenka. We in Nigeria, and I believe all of us in Africa, are looking forward to this conference. A little bit overdue, by the way, if we're going to go in a 10-year cycle that we've had in the past. We in Nigeria are looking forward to all the issues that you raised. We have signed up to the Sustainable Development Goals. And these goals are important for development in Nigeria, for the development in the other 53 African countries, and for the rest of the world. And goal 4 on quality of education is particularly relevant. But of course, higher education applies to all of the goals. So we're looking forward to benefiting from the discussions at that conference. And we're in Africa are not going to be onlookers. The thing that we want to do, our agenda in Africa for that conference, is for us to share what has happened in Africa and listen to what has happened elsewhere with regard to where we are, sustainable development goals and higher education. So we're looking to having the sharing of experiences of impact of COVID-19 on higher education in Africa, impact of COVID-19 on higher education in Europe, impact of COVID-19, and see where experiences can be learned. Europeans can learn from Africa what we have done. So we are looking forward to the next World Conference on Higher Education, where we'll expand our platform of experience sharing. So we want to be able to learn what has happened with SDGs and higher education, what are the challenges, what are the innovative pathways to breaking down those challenges or barriers, and be able to say, okay, fine, we are having tensions all over the world. Let me give the case of Nigeria. We have ethnic tension, terrorists, here and there. So, but higher education has a role to play. And that's what the National Universities Commission has been working on, to see how courses or programs in conflict resolution and peace building, can help in dowsing, in producing people, in educating people, public awareness and all of that, in raising awareness of people to peace and conflict resolution. So we want to be able to share these experiences at the World Conference. And quite importantly, we want to learn how others are using new tools of quality assurance, in this COVID-19 and post-COVID-19 environment, quality assurance in higher education. You recall that at one of the chair sessions, we got to learn about tools for virtual conduct of accreditation. So site visit, how do you conduct a site visit virtually? How do you conduct, what tools are important for open and distance learning delivery system to bring better quality out of it in this environment of blended learning? I chair the council of the biggest university in the whole of Africa, biggest in terms of enrollment, the National Open University of Nigeria. We have close to 600,000 students. And during the COVID-19 lockdown, we learned some new methods, some new techniques of delivering our ODL. So we want to be able to come to that conference to share with others and to listen to others. So that conference, we are eagerly awaiting it, where we'll look at what others are doing and what we are doing in terms of new tools, new techniques for quality assurance in open and distance learning, in how you deliver blended learning and all such things. And also how we live in a world, how we can live in a world that's at peace with itself. Because there's tension everywhere, ethnic tensions, religious tensions, and everything. So higher education has a role to play in dousing these tensions. I want to see how others do it. I will share what we do in Nigeria and also the rest of Africa.
Thank you, Peter. In one of these international exchanges that we had around the topic of the impact of the pandemic on higher education systems, we concluded that that the experiences that are shared across the world, that they're quite similar, that they're not specific for one region more than another. However, there is the problem of the digital divide. Would you like to add something to that? And and I think that's the case in Africa as well, where mobile phones were provided better access to learning than the internet and computers. Is that the case? Do you think this will be different modes will be used in the future?
Oh, thank you, Stamenka. That's an important point that you have raised, digital divide. We have challenges that Europe is not having as much as we do in terms of access to the internet by rural communities versus the urban communities, and the matter of poverty level in Africa being higher than in a number of other regions. So that's a major thing. And some attention is being paid to bridging narrowing this digital divide. And we are having actors from Europe, North America, support Africa with some technologies that will help to provide electricity that will drive the gadgetry for accessing the internet and for making the tools for accessing the internet, like the laptop, like the handheld devices, to read it. Maybe at this stage, Stamenka, I know you have not asked me the question, but I'll let you know that over the last 47 years, I've been involved in looking for a method that will be delivered in a way, a method for teaching science that will be culturally sensitive to Africa and contextually relevant for Africa. And I'm happy to let you know that by 2015, my research team and I came up with that approach. It's called the cultural techno-contextual approach. From the name, it has three frameworks bundled into one. The cultural part is letting the difficult topic that you want to teach to your students in science, reflect the cultural indigenous knowledge element of the student. That is, you have to draw from the cultural background of the student, the indigenous knowledge, to let them see that the new knowledge that they want to acquire in science has some roots, has some link with the indigenous. So that's the cultural bit. The techno bit is what we're talking about. Now, technology is becoming pervasive, but as you said, digital divide, not as pervasive as we have in regions outside of Africa. But the technology is getting to the hands of our teachers more and more, in the hands of our students more and more. Our recent studies show that about 60% of students in secondary education in Nigeria own mobile phones, whether they're in rural areas or in urban areas. And of those who own mobile phones, about a third of them have internet-enabled mobile phones, because they do their Facebook posts. The teachers the same. So technology is available to them, and we know that YouTube, Wikipedia are there for free, more or less, for them to use. So they can get all manner of resources for the topic, the difficult topic in science from there. So that's the technology part of the CTC approach. We call it the CTCA. The last C is contextual. That is, as a teacher of science, if you look around the environment of the school, you can get examples for a topic you are teaching. How can you are in Lagos, in a riverine area, and you are talking about some examples that are located in the Sahel, northern part of Nigeria. So we have worked out this package. It's called the CTC approach, and it's been tried out in 28 African countries, and we're finding that the CTCA, that's cultural techno-contextual approach, is helpful in promoting learning, in breaking down barriers to difficult concepts in science. By the way, Stamenka, if you just go to ctcapproach.com, you find everything there. But why am I bringing this in? I'm bringing this in because 2 days ago, 17th of February, 2021, I was 70 years old, and I launched an app. It's called the CTC app, mobile app for all mobile devices. So that app is to ensure that students and teachers have the CTC thing in the palm of their hands from their mobile devices, and it's free and it's there for them to download. And the download rate since we launched it at the Sheraton Hotel 2 days ago has been, exponential. So digital divide, yes, efforts have been made to bridge that divide, and we're now getting apps indigenously developed by Africans for promoting higher education and also general education.
Thank you, Peter. Always full of surprises, never a dull moment with Peter Okebukola, young or less young, let's put it that way. Now, my last brief question, because I see that you have the UN flag behind you. But I also know that Africa, that the European Union is helping higher education in Africa a lot, and so are bilateral donors and partnerships. Do you think that multilateralism in general and UNESCO in particular have still a role to play, an important role to play for Africa? And if yes, could you just tell us very briefly your perspective on that?
Yeah, multilateralism is important for Africa and also for the rest of the world. We are living together on this planet, and what happens to Stamenka in Paris, affects me in Lagos. And so multilateralism, in terms of sharing resources, sharing ideas, being one's borders keeper in all manner of ways, is important, and is going to be a major factor in Africa's development several decades to come or forever. So I see multilateralism being major, and I like to appreciate the efforts within this multilateralism, framework, the efforts of Europe in supporting Africa in its higher education enterprise. EU has been forthcoming in supporting us in our higher education agenda. We have an African Union Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. The Africa we want is a land where we're prosperous, a land where there's equity, a land where there is peace, driven by science and technology, by education generally, and all of that. A land where we are food secure, health secure. So to make these goals happen, we cannot carry it alone. The EU supporting us is helpful. All the regions or agencies supporting us will add more value to it. I'm sure they are doing that. So, Stamenka, multilateralism is quite important for us in Africa, as I said, and for the rest of the world. And for higher education in Africa, we're having a good time with that arrangement.
Thank you, Peter. This has been a very interesting interview. We've touched on the memory of UNESCO, but also on the future, which is the title of our club. So I think we've responded to its submission. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon. I hope that travel will resume and that we will meet in person as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stamenka. You have been a role model for me. I must underline that. You may not know it, but you're a role model. You're a role model in several respects. You are, our paths intersected around 2001 when I was appointed by President Obasanjo to be the executive secretary of the National Universities Commission. That's 20 years ago. And you were head of higher education in Paris. And so since that time, I found in you somebody who is clear-headed, very visionary, and somebody whose major goal is to ensure that quality of higher education in the world is not compromised. So I'm queuing behind you, Stamenka, with this enterprise. Thank you again. My regards to members of your club.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, and goodbye. Bye-bye. Keep safe. Keep safe.
Yeah, and you too, Stamenka. Thank you.